The cabin stood alone in the Colorado mountains, wrapped in pine trees and silence. Snow dusted the roof like powdered sugar, and the air smelled of wood smoke in memory. For Harold Whitman, that cabin wasn't just property, it was grief turned into shelter. He built it 32 years ago with his wife, Eleanor. Every summer board was cut by his hands, every nail driven after work, after laughter, after plans for retirement that Eleanor never lived to see. When cancer took her, the cabin became the only place where the quiet didn't hurt. After Eleanor's death, Harold lived simply. His pension was enough. The cabin was paid off. No debt, no pressure, just peace. So when his daughter, Rachel, asked if she and her husband, Mark, could borrow the cabin on weekends, Harold didn't hesitate. "It's empty most of the time, Dad," Rachel said warmly. "You'd want it enjoyed." He nodded. Of course, it's family. At first, everything felt normal. They visited once or twice a month. They cleaned up after themselves. Rachel sent photos, coffee mugs by the fireplace, sunsets through the trees. Harold smiled at those pictures, believing the cabin was still alive. Then, small things began to change. One day, Harold drove up unannounced, hoping to spend a quiet night there. When he reached the door, his key didn't work. Confused, he tried again. Nothing. Rachel answered his call casually. "Oh, we changed the locks. The old ones were outdated. Don't worry, we'll give you the new code." She never did. Inside, the cabin no longer felt like his. Eleanor's quilt was gone. The rocking chair replaced with a sleek leather couch. Family photos removed, replaced with abstract wall art. "It's just decorating," Rachel said when he asked. "You don't mind, right?" Harold swallowed his discomfort. "As long as it's still my cabin." Rachel laughed. "Of course it is, Dad." But the weekends grew louder. Cars filled the driveway. Friends he didn't recognize drank on the porch, tracked snow across the floor, laughed too freely. Once, a man he'd never met said, "Great place you've got here." Harold smiled politely. "Thank you." The man frowned. "Wait, you're Rachel's dad? I thought this was their cabin." That night, Harold lay awake, listening to unfamiliar footsteps in the hallway Eleanor once walked. Then came the text. "Rachel, we're having a private family retreat this weekend. Can you book a motel if you are planning to come up?" Harold stared at the screen. Book a motel. For the first time since Eleanor died, he cried. He didn't argue, he didn't confront, he didn't raise his voice. Instead, he made a call. His old friend, Thomas Keller, had become a real estate developer years ago. Harold invited him up for coffee. Thomas walked the land quietly, hands in pockets, eyes calculating. "You know," Thomas said gently, "this property could be worth a fortune." Harold nodded. "I'm ready." The paperwork moved fast. The cabin was fully paid, fully in Harold's name. No obstacles, no hesitation. What Harold didn't know, what would soon come crashing down, was that Rachel had been using the cabin as collateral. Quiet loans, forged digital signatures, money flowing into accounts marked family expenses, new furniture, new clothes, and dozens of Christmas decorations stacked in boxes. The following weekend, Rachel and Mark threw a party. Music echoed through the trees, wine glasses clinked, laughter spilled from the porch. They unpacked decorations, hanging lights, already planning a Christmas they believed belonged to them. Then, a truck rolled up the gravel road. A white SUV followed. Men stepped out, unfolding maps, placing stakes in the ground. Thomas Keller walked toward the porch. Rachel froze. "Who are you?" Thomas smiled politely. "I'm the new owner." Mark laughed nervously. "That's not funny." Then the sheriff arrived. He held a clipboard. "Rachel Whitman? Mark Whitman?" Rachel's face went pale. "You've been served an eviction notice. This property was sold legally. You are occupying it without permission." Mark exploded. "That's impossible. This is our cabin." The sheriff was calm. According to county records, it never was. Rachel's phone buzzed. A notification from the bank. Loan default, immediate review required. Her knees buckled. Thomas glanced at Harold, who stood quietly at the edge of the clearing. Snow fell softly around him. Rachel ran to him. "Dad, you knew?" Harold met his eyes, not with anger, but disappointment deeper than rage. "I trusted you. You took my silence as permission." The sheriff gestured to the boxes stacked inside the cabin. "You'll need to remove personal belongings today." Rachel looked at the decorations, paid for with money borrowed in his name. "I was going to pay it back," she whispered. Harold shook his head. "You already paid me back." He turned away as the surveyors began marking the land. The mountains stayed silent. For the first time in years, Harold felt light. Not because he won, but because he finally chose himself.